Stay there. Don't do that. I'm not ready. I need more time. Out of mana. I'm not ready. Need mana. Fear will best you. I can't yet. I can't yet. No mana.
Hello and welcome, Exiles, to look at my Frostbomb Titan I've been playing more recently. Why did I choose Frostbomb? Why did I choose Titan? Well, Frostbomb with a lot of AoE looks pretty cool, and Titan allows you to get quite a bit of AoE scaling as well as more reduced skill effect duration than any other class, which makes the bad part of Frostbomb, which is the delayed explosion, more bearable because this is without fast forward and it's blowing up in like half a second, and that feels pretty dang good. Now, I have put together a brief tree with our current set level 75 character, as well as I have made trade searches that I use to buy all of these gear pieces that we put together for 1D. Roughly, I spent about 5x to 10x per item, and that's how we got to the set we are wearing. On there, you will also find the gear set as well as some gem links set up. And that is the basics of the character for the planner below, if you're curious. As for more intricate details of the build, what exactly are we doing in terms of running around the maps, doing clear, etc.? Well, Frostbomb, big AoE and whatnot, but it still has a I don't know if it's 1 second or 1.5 second cooldown or what it is exactly. 1.64. But anyways, say we can't always rely on this to do all of our damage because it is limited by cooldown. What do we do to mix in for more single target? Frostwall is an excellent solution. Frostwall creates a bunch of objects that can be blown up. And those objects that blow up can have overlapping AoEs. So for example, when I go to a boss, I will put down frost walls and then I will blow them up to have a lot of shotgunning AoE. Our Frostbomb currently is enough damage to one-shot pretty much most magic and white mobs, but if there's a tankier rare, then we need to include in a Frost Wall, as well as if there is a boss fight, and that's what Frost Wall is for. Or if we just want a little bit of extra clear, Frost Wall does have a lot of screen coverage. As you can see, it has big AoEs, and when enemies destroy it, that will also include giving us more AoE coverage for killing mobsters if we're on cooldown on our Frostbomb. But currently the way it stands is we blink around, Frostbomb, blink around, Frostbomb, blink around, Frostbomb. Now, you might be wondering, Lance, there seems to be a lot of cooldowns here on this character. Why wouldn't you just use a Temporalis? Well, Temporalis cost a gajillion dollars. Currently, I'm in an ethical dilemma for touching the item because, number one, it cost a lot, even with the fact it had a duplication bug. And number two, it had a duplication bug, so it just kind of feels wrong. I do technically have one, but it just doesn't seem morally right to use it. If you want to min-max this character, if you like this character enough and you really want to see what you can do with it, Temporalis would be probably a pretty good solution. But that's neither here nor there. Now, outside of that, what other neat things are we doing with this character? I really like time lost jewels, and it tilts me so much that GGG has not added support for time lost jewels. But these are what we're currently using, is time lost jewels, ideally with some small effect along with other useful stats. These are the cheap jewels we bought on a budget, which only have small effect and a little bit of percent damage. So for example, here we'll have 3% damage for all the small nodes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So for example, that's giving us 21% damage with that 2% per small node, as well as 5% crit on the notables, so 5, 10, 15, 20. And then the small effect radius is giving us a bit of block chance and a bit of percent armor. So you can see it's the 7% versus 18 versus 20. So that is what's happening with these jewels. These jewels get a bit better when you start including more stats. For example, this jewel here has 2%, 2%, whereas this jewel here only has 1, 2%. So for example, if I were to swap in this jewel right now, instead of having 3% damage per 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nodes, I have 6% on 8 nodes, which is 48% damage. So they obviously get better if you could actually search and find jewels. The more expensive clusters I have here, because I have 3 that are basically better clusters I bought yesterday, I spent about 50 to 70x on all 3 of these, versus these 3 jewels I bought today for the video were about 5 to 10x. So price may vary. The unfortunate thing about the time lost jewels is they are just not searchable. Like if you go to PoE Trade right now and you go to search for these, the only mod you can really use is the small effect mod. Technically, you can search for the radius upgrade mod, upgrades radius to medium, and you can set a 2 for large. I think that's how that works. But the problem with that is that mod doesn't really matter, because all the nodes we actually care about are within the radius to begin with. I guess this node's a little bit out of the radius, but you wouldn't want to waste an entire prefix on upgrading the radius. Pardon the interruption, I just got done dying to coughing. But yeah, as I was saying, you wouldn't want to trade the upgraded radius for an actual stat that gives you value. That's all I was saying. You can't search any other mod besides small effect and the radius doesn't matter. So it's basically you click small effect and you just scroll through until you find a jewel that works. It's super scuffed. The second GGG adds support for us to be able to search jewels properly, I will update a trade search for you guys based on being able to search the actual affixes that are good, like crit damage on notables, crit chance on notables, AoE on notables, spell damage, cold damage, elemental damage on small passives. There's quite a few good affixes on time lost jewels, but unfortunately, we just have no ability to control what jewel we're searching for, and it's just kind of cancer because you're just scrolling through a bunch of trade listings until you see one, and it's horrible. So anyways, that's my little soapbox on time lost jewels. They're sick. There's a lot of builds that could use them. Holy cow, I wish they were trade searchable. Alrighty. Aside from that, the basic idea of the character: high AoE with Titan, high reduction in skill effect duration, and then outside of that, I'm just kind of winging it. I want to go for, ideally, a character that feels fairly good on a reasonable budget. I'm going to try to keep this character around 5 to 10D in the late game. Currently, this is 1D, and I still need to optimize and get some more plans in, but that's what I'm shooting for. Hopefully, you guys like this look at the character. And then on stream today, we'll go for our Merciless and Uberlab and get more in tune with seeing how stun works with spells, because I think it should work. Originally, I had planned this character around doing an Invoker. I actually leveled all the way to Act 2 Cruel, and then I got baited by chat to go for Titan just because of the AoE. And I took it hook, line, and sinker because there's something satisfying about a big circle. As we level up and get more gem levels, we're going to get more base radius. And hopefully, eventually, me clicking this button will be a circle that goes encompassing the majority of my screen. So yeah, that is the goal of the Frostborn Titan. Hopefully, you guys looking at the build. Editor Lance cutting into the video because I forgot to go over one important topic, which is gem level, mana scaling, and Archmage. I specifically, you will notice in this character, am not clicking Archmage. This is an intentional decision, not based on the fact I am trying to optimally build, because in my opinion, right now, Archmage is a mandatory auto-include for every single build in the game if you're doing it correctly. Like right now, I have a cast on freeze. Realistically, that's just not even close to as good as clicking something like Archmage would be for DPS scaling, but I am pretending I am pretending that Archmage doesn't exist. And why do I feel like it's mandatory for spellcasters? It's because of the gem level scaling with the amount of mana cost you get and the amount of damage you get from gem level scaling. If you're playing a character that is a spell build, your ability to deal single target damage is entirely contingent on gem level scaling. The only way gem level scaling isn't the difference in you dealing damage versus not dealing good damage is if you have some broken interaction that's hitting way more times or is just way more efficient than any other spell skill and probably is going to get nerfed type of situation. Outside of that, you really need gem levels in order to deal significantly reasonable damage. Because you can see the difference in 5 levels going from 21 to 26 is the difference in essentially doubling the damage, as well as you'll notice 128 mana cost to 238, doubling the mana cost. What this ends up meaning is characters are pigeonholed into basically building their character as if they were an Archmage build. You need so much mana investment to keep up with the mana cost from the baseline skill cost that if you have Archmage in your build, it isn't even half of the mana cost. More than half of your mana cost is probably coming just from your gem, not the Archmage. So what that ends up meaning is the downside, the thing that's like, oh, Archmage skills cost a lot. The thing that's the downside isn't realistically all that big of a downside, and it just becomes a no-brainer. You're already dealing with a massive mana cost, might as well throw on 5% of your own mana pool as additional cost, because you're already going to be spending absorbent amounts with these skills. As an example, let's say you have a +4 wand, a +3 amulet, and a +2 focus. That puts you at, what is that? 3 + 2 + 4 puts you at 9, and then you grab the +1 cold on the tree. That's 10 levels. Then let's say you have a level 20 gem, it goes to level 30. All of a sudden you have 390 mana cost. In order for Archmage to give you an equivalent amount of cost to how much you're spending on mana, you would need to have a mana pool of like, what, 8,000? It's just kind of crazy. So in order to solve for a mana cost like this, people invest in a ton into mana, they're forced into it, and it's taking away the realm of being able to decide something for yourself, because it's very hard to choose, oh, I'm going to do something besides Archmage, because it's just so obviously the wrong decision. Archmage is so much damage that you lose the ability to have the feeling like there's a choice, if that makes sense. So anyways, currently with the way mana skills, I think this is a two-pronged problem. I think Archmage just by itself is just too strong regardless of the mana cost of skills. But then on top of that, mana cost skills is just forcing people into Archmage level mana investment anyways for spell builds. And it makes a lot of builds start feeling really homogenized because they're pretty much everybody is forced into so much mana investment that Archmage is a no-brainer, and then everybody clicks it. And then you lose the excitement of choice or variance or ability to differentiate because everything's being forced or truncated into this one way. It's basically just a balance issue. And I am purposely not clicking Archmage, even though I know it's the correct decision. And I just wanted to say this in case people were going to ask me, why aren't you using Archmage? And this is why. Anyways, and yeah. Oh, enjoy the planner. Just so it's not fully fleshed out. It's just me kind of winging it. And so play at your own risk or enjoy at your own risk, whatever you want to call it. As always, thanks for watching, Exiles. Take care and peace out. Have a good one.